The ability to take, scan, manipulate, disseminate, or store images in a digital format has spawned major changes in the communication technology industry. That is why Taylor Sanders and I, Kristen Miles, have chosen to study this fascinating topic. Obviously, this will just be a brief overview. The industry has been rapidly growing since the very first photograph, shown on your screen, was taken around 1826 in the Burgundy region of France. It took 8 hours for the plate to be exposed. Needless to say, we've come a long way since that early print. Mark Twain said that, quote, "The piece of glass the photo prints on is well named a negative, a contradiction, a misrepresentation, a falsehood. I speak feeling of this matter because by turns the instrument has represented me to be a lunatic, a Solomon, a missionary, a burglar, and an abject idiot, and I am neither." Close quote. Mark Twain was a man that wholeheartedly embraced the ability of a photograph to influence people all around the world. At the time of his death, he had been photographed thousands of times by almost every important photographer of the 19th century, in contrast with his contemporaries such as Charles Dickens, who was only photographed a few times. Mark Twain understood that a well-orchestrated photograph had the ability to tell a story much like the words that he wrote. He created an image that included frizzy hair, an always-present cigar, and a white suit. This was in contrast with his real identity as a bankrupt and depressed writer. You may ask what the greatest American novelist has to do with photography and digital imaging. Well, quite simply, photography is just another way of telling a story. Every picture that we take and upload to Instagram, every family picture that we agonize over, every shot of a perfectly plated salad, and every no-filter sunset is telling our story. We are creating a digital imagery of our lives in a way that is similar to the classic novel 1984 by George Orwell. In the mythical totalitarian state of Oceania, the government watched everything that the citizens did. They were Big Brother. Today, everyone is watching everyone else. Our lives are captured and posted to social networks for everyone to see, and we are doing this willingly. This is not something we are being forced to do like those in Oceania. We are active and involved in recording our lives. This social surveillance via digital imaging is especially popular in Generation Y, the 18 to 32-year-old range. This generation takes 1.5 times more photos, uploads twice as many images, and emails 3% more photos than all other generations combined. The obsession with capturing our own images has converged with many other factors that have occurred in the digital imaging industry. Phones commonly include a camera, technology has allowed us to easily share photos, and photo manipulating software is easier than ever to use. But all of that didn't happen overnight. So how did we go from Mark Twain, who uniquely crafted an image, to more than 80 million Instagram users a day? Well, it all started with the camera obscura way back with Leonardo da Vinci in 1502. Now, Leonardo didn't invent the camera obscura. The idea had been around for several hundred years, but he was the first one to create a detailed description and then to produce a working model. The camera obscura is very simply a box with holes that reflected the image as it is bounced off of angled surfaces. Next came the daguerreotype camera, which was created by the French Academy of Sciences. Fun fact, one of these originals sells in the neighborhood of $1 million, not your average point and shoot. The technology continued to improve until when, in 1888, George Eastman secured a patent for the Kodak roll film camera. He was a pioneer in photographic film. The name Eastman Kodak became synonymous with photography. The raised camera came next around 1900. This is similar to the equipment used in the iconic photographs by Ansel Adams. Of course, it should be noted that it was not the cameras that made Adams famous. Rather, it was the man behind the camera that captured the iconic images of the West and are still recognizable today. Cameras changed at a rapid pace for the next several decades. We see the 35mm still camera, the Polaroid, point-and-shoot autofocus cameras, and eventually digital cameras that began to appear in the early 1980s. This image is from Digital Camera World and shows a quick visual of how a digital photograph is created. Digital photography is what most of us are familiar with today. At its most basic level, a digital photograph is a form of photography that uses cameras containing arrays of electronic photodetectors that capture images focused by a lens. The captured images are then digitized and stored as a computer file ready for further digital processing, viewing, digital publishing, or printing. The final image is stored as pixels. Think of a sheet of graph paper. Each square is a pixel. The pixels can only record light in shades of gray, not color. In order to produce other color images, each photo site is covered with a series of red, green, and blue filters. Each filter lets specific wavelengths of light pass through according to the color of the filter, blocking the rest. This is what creates the images in a photograph. As digital cameras have quickly replaced film and glass plates, we can see many developments and improvements in the industry. Equipment on the hardware side has continued to evolve, although more slowly than many would like. The place that sees the most rapid development is in software. Digital image resolution has continued to improve. Images shot with large format cameras from the 1880s were superior to those shot with a digital camera only 15 years ago. Fortunately, that is no longer true. Some of the top digital cameras have a resolution of over 20 million pixels. Memory cards are available to store and transfer photographs, most often wirelessly. Available today are cards that store 128 gigabytes, which is equivalent to 3,200 photos, all on a single card. This is a huge improvement in only a few years. The most recognizable software used in photo editing is Adobe Photoshop. It continues to evolve and be updated. There are also many other editing softwares available. Of course, along with the use of editing software comes the ethical question: is photo manipulation useful, or does it harm the integrity of the industry? The February 1982 cover image of the National Geographic shows the pyramids of Giza moved closer together. They were moved to fit the vertical cover of the magazine. The then editor of the magazine defended the adjustment by saying that it was, quote, not a falsification, but merely the establishment of a new point of view, as if the photographer had been retroactively moved a few feet to one side, close quote. That was a basic overview of the history of digital imaging and photography. The most important thing to remember is that photography has continued to evolve very rapidly from its earliest beginnings and will continue to change. Now Taylor will share important information about the importance of this topic.